What is luck? What is karma? What are chocolate-dipped potato chips? To be honest, I'm not sure. But today, I want to share with you a few wine labels I made for my friends at Litten Buffel Winery. Now, I don't know much about karma. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a warning. We're going to go full on Red Wizard crazy here today because Red Wizard's going to start talking about his artwork, and once he does that, it's going to get weird. But I do know that these labels would not have been possible if I was not a nice boy in 7th grade, because that is when I met the Squid Master. And 20 years later, the Squid Master opened up his own winery. Now, he remembered that I was a nice person, and he asked me, he said, "Red Wizard, will you make a wine label for me in my new winery?" I said yes. If you don't know what natural wine is, it's basically a revival of old school winemaking processes. So it's crushing grapes, putting them in barrels, and aging them. It's making wine that's not trying to be like pretend like it's from California or wherever. It is what it is. And so these labels I made for Litten Buffel are more or less exclusive types of wine for Litten Buffel. This wine is called Faux Show. Sounds French, but it's supposed to sound, like English slang, right? The name of this collage is Awaiting Planetary Consciousness. Basically, the time I was making this collage, I was very interested in the local geology of Western New York. Now, we live near the Great Lakes, and that's what makes grape growing possible over here in Western New York. So my thought was, and what I tried to show in this collage, was that only through some type of crazy cataclysm and crazy prehistoric stuff is wine able to be made here currently. There used to be like a mile thick slab of ice above us, which was called a glacier, and at some point that melted and made the Great Lakes and gouged out everything that I live in right now, including the winery, which is, 40 minutes from my house. So we're basically living next to a giant puddle from an ice age, have scenes from an icy alien planet, because like how normal was our planet when there was giant mastodons on it and stuff like that? Probably a little abnormal. It might have seemed like it was aliens and stuff like that. I mean, what really is an alien, especially if you're already going to other planets? You know what I'm saying? So there's also a vintage model of a cell, an animal cell, on the very lower level. There is, it's showing like glacial melt and like water going down into the stream. And then I have some gemstones cut out there. And then we have a woman that's kind of floating in the middle of the air with a mask on. And to me, that symbolizes beginning, right? But also birth, also change. Okay, and she's flying because like within this planet that does not seem sentient, but eventually we're going to have a sentient planet, and we're moving towards a conscious planet. So this is Awaiting Planetary Consciousness. This label is for a carbonated wine called Mother Makes Glucose. This wine has a really awesome story, and I was really inspired by it when the winemakers were telling me about it. Basically, they found a guy who was a hobby farmer, retired dude, who grew like an insane amount of grape varieties as well as other orchard fruits. Well, what did Litten Buffel decide to do? They decided to put every fruit, every grape variety in this one dude's small farm and cram it into a bottle and carbonate it. Mother makes glucose. Glucose is sugar. Mother Nature makes glucose. That sugar is then changed into alcohol. Now, this wine is awesome. It tastes like funky pink sweet tarts. We have an image of sacrifice, weeping, technicolor blood from a red eye. Then you have this feminine figure with the grapes in front of the woman's face, And in the background, I believe I used something that was a very old scan of outer space. This wine is called Shoulders of Giants. Now, this wine was also named after the collage, and I don't know how long it's been now, maybe like 3 years ago when I started seriously collaging again. This was one of my first bangers that I came out with that I was really happy with. This also has to do with land and our perception of the earth. Now, in the background, you have like super early earth when everything was abiotic. There's just lava, rocks, and lightning, okay? Then we see the anatomy of a human. We see the nerve endings and stuff like that. I took out the brain and I replaced it with a fuselage of a rocket ship with 2 scientists in the rocket ship. They're doing work, maybe adjusting a few screws, taking a few notes, okay, probably humming some Arlo Guthrie at the time. And then I cut out the inside and I found pictures of like a universe, right? And as humans, we are, as far as we know and can tell, the most conscious beings of this evolutionary crest that's happening on Earth. What will happen, we're not sure, but we're seeing it right now, aren't we? If you'd ever like to work with me on one of your projects, maybe you have an album cover, maybe you have a funky beverage that needs a label for, pretty much anything, I'm here to help. So let me know if there's anything you'd like to work on. And never, ever forget that eventually you just may have a flux capacitor. Thanks for watching.